Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. This is Kyle from TechZulu, streaming live at the Hilton here at South by Southwest. Now I am joined by Mr. Eric Collins of Mobile Posse. Mobile Posse, not Mobile Pass, not Mobile Passy, but Mobile Posse. The coolest way you could say what your company is.
We have our Western roots and our gangster roots, so it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
A little Western gangster, little Mobile Posse action. So Eric, thank you first off for coming in here. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. And tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing here at South by, and how has your experience been here at South by Southwest?
This is our first time at South by Southwest.
Me too.
Oh, it is your first
It
time.
is.
And I'm a little overwhelmed. So I'm not necessarily good at some of the things that are really necessary. Waking up early, staying up really late, and then being able to sort of decide. I'm sort of a little ADD, and so there's so many things that you could be doing with your time. So there's so many panels that are going on this morning. There's so many conversations that you could be having casually. There's so many sort of vendors who are sort of here who are showing their wares. There's so many new technologies. So what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm trying to do. Again, this is the first time as someone who's a newbie. So I tried to decide that there were a few customers that I just had to see, or there's some brands that were here that I really wanted to talk to, because we're in mobile advertising and sort of mobile content provision. So it's important for me to sort of find some things that are new and interesting, as well as visit sort of with the people who are paying the bills. So I wanted to find some of those people.
Good action, by the way. Make sure the bills are paid.
God, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And then the second thing is to find the new things, especially those sorts of places where there are media partners that we could possibly work with that would be to our advantage. And so we have been going, and I have two other people who are here with me, one from our LA office and one from our East Coast office, and we've just been trading off, trying to get to as many activities as possible and convening afterward to say sort of what did we find out and do we need to go deeper with this organization or that organization.
So, being a first timer as well, I mean, I haven't really left the studio very much. So
We want to see you.
yeah. So what you found and what you guys are doing, is it working? For those out there that are watching, or will see this. If they're deciding to come to South by Southwest 2013, is what your guys are doing a good route to go? Planning it out versus just, oh, there's 10,000 events. Let's just see which one we want to go to and trying to walk in. And
oh, if I were an organization that had lots and lots of resources and lots of people, then I might sort of do the best approach. I think could be the sort of random walk through South by Southwest. We don't have that luxury. We're an older startup, but we're sort of in startup mode. We're venture backed, and the question of what could our people be doing in terms of their time, because there's always something else that they could be doing. We have to make some hard decisions, and that's the thing. So I think organizations that are like mine, if you don't have 50 people in your marketing organization, if you don't have 700 sellers, and you're not going to bring them all here, so you have a few people who are going to go, and you need them to really make it sort of needs to be, instead of the buckshot approach, it needs to really be the silver bullet approach, that you're going to have to do some planning. You really need to find out ahead of time sort of what are some tracks that you might want to do from an education perspective, and where you might then be able to overlap and network with the right organizations and individuals. And then I do think, though, it's very important to keep yourself open to the possibility. So if you just track yourself through and you follow through, and you're always going to be in a session, you're always going to be listening to someone speak, and you're going to go to the big events with Steve Case speaking with the head of Living Social, that's great, but then does that really leave you the time that you're going to need to actually meet some other people and really talk through some potential and some value propositions that you might not have pre-thought before you came here, and that might actually be something that really helps to change your business once you leave. So I would recommend that you certainly plan, but then also leave a little time for the serendipitous meeting to occur.
And I mean, we've probably both been to multiple events, meetups and such like that, either local or globally, if you will. But I mean, how do you feel about the networking aspect here? I mean, for myself, it's been out of control. I mean, I've met so many more people here, and what's been exciting for me is that it's global. I've met a lot of people from Europe, from Asia, from Australia, and it's like, it's not your everyday local community type of people. Are you feeling the same way? Like, do you feel like your network is just vastly growing just by being here and talking to people?
And the sad thing is, I would have thought that I had done a pretty good job beforehand, that I knew people and I had identified real organizations, but I do find that my network is expanding. I had an interesting experience. Tell me what you think about this. We're staying outside of the city. We made our planning late, and so we're staying a little bit outside of Austin. there was someone standing in the lobby as we're coming down from in the hotel, out in the elevator, went by this guy. He had on a tag, so you could tell he had some credentials, and he seemed to be waiting for a shuttle. We said, "Do you want to ride with us? Because we're going to be driving over right now, and you won't have to wait." He said yes. We got into the car, and it's a sort of person that I would have wanted to meet here. It just happened to be serendipity. It could have been someone completely out of left field, but that person ended up being a person that I would like to actually be able to have intense conversation with. We had 15 minutes in the car. We had then sort of 15 minutes after we parked, and then walking to the Hilton actually, and then we were able to sort of exchange business cards, exchange value props, and then be able to say, and this is what we want to do as an additional next step. That was something, maybe it was a little risky. Maybe you don't, when someone sees me coming toward them and saying, "You want to get in my car and I'll drive you someplace," they might not say that.
I mean, with this blazer, however, I'd be like, yes.
I'm a chauffeur, So maybe it's even better. But so that actually turned out to be very, very good. So I actually enjoyed that.
I will say that that's a great situation. I've had that happen locally, and I also had it happen at CES, where I was introduced to somebody. We end up spending a lot of the week together, seeing each other at events, and end up needing a place to stay.
Right.
And he offered me his couch one night.
Fantastic.
So yeah, totally.
Good.
And then after that, we started talking about business. As we are hanging out at the house, and next thing you know, we're now doing business together in some fashion. So it was it was perfect.
No,
Thank you. So,
well, good. I'm glad that nothing bad happened. See, it could be one of those other experiences. This is good.
I didn't get shanked. I sold both my kidneys.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you didn't sell any internal organs. They didn't get you on the market.
So we're good. We're good. So let's talk a little bit about Mobile Posse. What do you guys do? Tell us a little bit about it and kind of the process that you guys do for customers.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to look at it is when everyone has got, anyone who's listening to this has a telephone, and they have a telephone with a home screen on it. We own the home screen. We're that sort of coveted space where everything, you're looking at that about 11 times an hour. The average American's looking at that 11 times an hour. We're with Verizon, with Metro PCS, with Cricket, and also with US Cellular. We are the exclusive publisher to the home screen. We are the ones who, on their behalf, and as a branded play by them, actually send down content on a daily basis at a schedule that we sort of predetermine. That at 8 o'clock you'll do weather, at 10 o'clock we'll do gas price watch or something like that. We'll do some lunch specials in the middle of the day. You'll get your sports scores at some point. But we do those sorts of things, and then it's brought to you by an advertiser. So the weather brought to you by Ford, by the new Ford Taurus. Or gas price watch brought to you by Allstate. And in that way, we are actually giving people what they want. It's a valuable content play for them, and they're looking forward to that. It's pushed to them, so they don't actually have to open an app. They don't have to be in a search function. It's just pushed to them, and it's pushed to them on a schedule, and they've opted into it. We have 14 million users today. 14 million users who are actually asked us for this to happen, and they're on all the networks that I talked about through our partnerships with those networks, and we're not getting people to download onesie-twosies. We're actually sitting on phones. When a person activates their phone, they can activate us, and then we begin that process of actually educating them about things that they're interested in, and then also giving them deals and information from advertisers to help offset the cost. Ours is a perfectly free service. It's all free, including the data charges. It's all free for what we do. So it's a good model. Yeah.
Wow. 11 times for the average person is a little different here at South by, where everybody is using their phone every 30 seconds. And so since you guys are in the mobile advertising space, what do you guys see happening? You guys have been involved with it for a while. What kind of progression have you seen from when you guys started to where we are now with that kind of mobile advertising space?
You've seen these sensational plays that are about that are in search engines. So someone will open a search, and all of a sudden they'll see an ad pop up that'll say, "Oh, do this sort of thing." So you're looking for a Ford, and then all of a sudden Ford will send you an ad. So those sorts of things are interesting to actually find a person close to their intent. And there are lots of organizations that do that. There are organizations that are in-app, right? So you're playing. I play Angry Birds all the time. So you're playing Angry Birds, and then all of a sudden, there's a little something along the bottom. It's not that disturbing. You can always ignore it, and then you continue on with what you're doing, but at least it's some sort of an advertising message. Those seem to be a little random. You got to either open the app in order to get to it and for that message to be delivered to you. And if you're thinking about opening a movie, so you're trying to really open like The Help or Mission Impossible, and you're trying to get your first weekend done, you can't rely upon people just going to a website or doing a search and maybe finding you that way. You need something which is actually going to be able to, in a timely basis, or if it's something you need immediate consumption for because you're like selling a breakfast burrito or something at a convenience store and you really want people to do something at the time that you're selling the breakfast burritos, you can't have people looking at it at 10 o'clock at night when they're going to forget it in the morning. You need them to see it between 6 and 10 in the morning, and you need to have it pushed to them in a way that makes sense. That's where I'm seeing changes in how things are done and why the technology that we have differs and actually, I think, amplifies what is being done by others. And it's actually, we're finding it's very, very powerful. The brands that we're working with include Procter & Gamble. You're seeing organizations like Ford. I keep on mentioning them because they're one of our real stable customers.
We're not promoting Ford or anything.
No.
There's no promotion of Ford or anything. Yeah. Ford, if you have any free cars, there would be generous too.
And so, even organizations like Yahoo and the like, who are trying to drive downloads of various apps that they have found that if you want to get over the discoverability issue, you have this app, you've spent all this time developing the sensational app. How do you get someone to know that it's actually there? Maybe you can do it because you're going to be a fave, you're getting the viral and word of mouth, but if you really want to sort of put it in front of people on an Android handset, that this is an Android app that's available for you to download, there are other ways of doing it, and we can do that with the home screen. Again, the most valuable real estate in mobile is that home screen, and that's where we spend all of our time, just on that home screen.
Well, it's interesting too that you mentioned, the kind of the optimized time frame, because we're starting to see that now with social media. For instance, like scheduled tweets, scheduled Facebook posts, like people are trying to optimize the reach. So instead of just sending out a tweet, as I did earlier this morning, I could have optimized it to be sent, at 2 o'clock where the biggest reach is. So you guys are seeing that as well in the advertising space.
You've got to be able to do that, and you've got to also then, the good thing about Twitter and the good thing about Facebook is that you also are trying to identify individuals who have an explicit or stated interest. So, when you catch someone and they're sort of in the midst of playing Final Fantasy, maybe they're interested in the new version that's coming out. I'm sure they're interested in that, but are they really interested in banking services at that particular moment? Probably not. So another big trend is getting a person when they're sort of proximate to the time or to the action which you want them to take. So if it's going to be something like you want them to upgrade to a new version of a game, doing it in a game sort of makes sense. If you want them to really sort of buy something at the grocery store, like get more Minute Maid orange juice, you're going to want to do it sometimes when they're probably shopping, which is probably not at 10 o'clock in the morning on a weekday when they're at the office. Maybe it's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you're trying to then sort of look at this sort of schedule. All organizations are trying to look at the schedule and when we can deliver. And then you also want to be able to re-engage people, because think about it. At the moment, how do you really re-engage people? And that's something that, again, an organization like Facebook does pretty well, and an organization like Mobile Posse, that's all we do. We know who our users are, and we know sort of what they're interested in, so we're going to try and then continue to engage them. If they've expressed an interest, let's re-engage them in that same sort of topic, as opposed to necessarily changing the topic on them.
So very similar to what people are doing with retargeting. You guys are kind of re-advertising.
Exactly. That's exactly the terminology.
So, have you guys gone as far or seen as far as people doing kind of locational-based advertising? We're not only at optimal time, so if I'm grocery shopping or should be grocery shopping, between the hours of 9 and 10 in the morning, and I happen to walk into a grocery store, and are you able to see that somehow with Foursquare, some kind of social app or something? Do you guys use anything like that, or have you guys seen any trends with that kind of location-based, optimized time-based, as we just throw buzzwords in here? I'm buzzword crazy right now. Ford. But are you guys seeing anything like that right now?
I do see. I've seen this. I think location has really been, in terms of the secret sauce that everyone feels will sort of break things out. Location and time and proximate time are two things that could really make a big difference in terms of adoption and sort of the value of an ad unit. I have not found the organization yet, and this might just be myself, so other people, please, I hope this sort of erupts into a dialogue among your sort of audience, so they can help me to understand a little bit better. But I haven't seen the perfect solution for that yet. Sort of where we're able to say, because I think what everyone would love to see is either you are inside Walmart And when you're inside Walmart, you're being able, and you've come, they've told you that Oreo cookies are on sale someplace, and they tell you not only where to find them, but then as you're walking by them, if they really want to sort of get you to buy that Oreo, they deliver to you something which is going to create an incentive for you to pick it up and grab it, and then take it, put it into your cart, and actually then complete the transaction. That's what people would love to be able to do. Or you're thinking it's coffee time and everyone knows it's 10 o'clock in the morning, so you're sort of at, at 2:30 in the afternoon, you're sort of at a low energy moment, so you're out doing something and you wander by, Pete's Coffee, and they would be able to get to you in that particular situation. Or you've got some, you're sort of thinking about lunch and there's an organization that has a little bakery that made some sandwiches, and if they don't sell them, and they can send you a little quick ad to try and get you in to actually buy that sandwich, and they might 2 for 1 or something like that. I haven't seen organizations that are doing that well. I've heard about things. I've heard that Living Social is doing some interesting things with a product called Instant, which they've been testing and then have rolled out. I hear that there's some organizations that have been doing something in terms of location-based services where they can actually push from the retail location, not across all retailers like Starbucks, not across all their retailers, but it's a particular retail location on a particular corner that can push some things out. I've heard that those things exist, but I haven't seen them actually commercially available in a way that I think actually both exploits time and proximity, and then the intention of a person to actually do something. Those 3 things together might be the secret sauce, and I haven't seen that done. Our solution is much more one that can actually fit within that paradigm, because we're a push technology, so we know who you are, and the question of sort of then getting the information about where you are and what do you want to do. If we can put that all together, I think we got something sensational.
So would you say that's kind of the next trend in the mobile advertising space, if you will? Another buzzword, Ford.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
or if not, yeah, got to keep plugging it. If not, what might be the next trend that we're looking forward to here?
I think you're talking about a long-term trend. That's sort of what I think that's what TechZulu and other organizations do really well. You're looking at a longer-term trend and the things that people should be demanding from the marketplace. I think in terms of a short-term trend, one that has real value and has real opportunity outside of sort of the social media is retargeting. So if you're not talking about sort of Facebook, where a person's there, might spend much of their day on Facebook, but you're instead talking about the opportunity to really retarget in a sort of a promotional message. I think that is the thing, and most organizations can't retarget. People sort of kind of know who their user is, kind of know what the consumer really likes, but it's all based on psychographic information, sort of what they're doing, as opposed to a real knowledge. There are no real profiles of people. There are no real sort of opting in for actions to be taken on their behalf. We're an organization that actually does that, and the retargeting, I think, is the short-term opportunity that's hot, that's sexy, and that what organizations are looking for. And I think the other thing that an organization like Ford would be looking for, Ford, have you driven one lately?
Ford.
Is the other thing that an organization like Ford would be looking for is they would be looking in mobile especially for how they can be associated with content. And when I say associated with content, not just associated with, car enthusiast content, but that they can actually be associated, they can sort of find themselves sort of lost among, like you see in fashion magazines. Fashion magazines, when an organization like Louis Vuitton creates this beautiful sort of ad, and there's Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Lopez sort of sitting around with their very expensive luggage, it's still fashion, so it's sort of considered informative for the user as well as entertaining and engaging. That's what we're really looking for in mobile also, something which is informative and sort of sits within the information flow that's already being presented. So if indeed Ford could find the real organization that can deliver a content message that is complementary to Ford, and that Ford looks good next to that because it has also its own content that looks really hot and really sort of sexy and can drive sort of a similar sort of reaction, a lifestyle sort of a publication, and here is Ford in sort of a lifestyle sort of an ad unit, then that's the kind of thing that I think that combination is also very interesting. So retargeting, and I think content driving consumer engagement in a sexy, interesting way. Those are the things I think are the short term. You talk about
Short term, there we go. Long term, it's kind of what I'm throwing out here. Well, Eric, tell us, we got a few more days left here at South by. I know you're going home, but what is everybody else with Mobile Posse doing here this week? Are you guys doing any panels? Are you guys doing any events? are you guys throwing any parties that none of us have to wait in line for?
Yeah, no. Okay, yeah. My party planning, we'll take you to dinner if you'd like, and so we'll get a reservation for that. But so what we're going to be actually doing is we attend a lot of the parties of our business partners. So those sort of organizations that are out there that we already have deals with, we're attending those sorts of parties. We're going to be walking the floor a lot. We're going to be trying to, stop as many people as we can to ask sort of what they do and to try and figure out if what they do helps what we're doing and what we do helps what they're doing. We're going to do that a lot. I think we're going to really try and participate in the show not just as someone who's a net taker, but maybe we can actually give something back, because maybe we can actually, like this, the conversation that you and I have had, and I really love talking to TechZulu. This is fascinating because you've sort of pulled out this conversation about trends and sort of impacts and sort of what's going to be happening in the future. It's not just sort of a self-plug. I mean, we, of course, in the Ford plug.
Well, Ford.
Yeah, Ford, of course. But, it's sort of helping in that way to sort of increase knowledge, increase the cadence with which innovation is happening. We'd love to be part of that also. So if we can help in that way here by having conversations, doing things, we're going to do that. It's a bigger question for us, I think, is next year, do we invest even more, and do we actually have parties and that sort of thing? We're going to parties so I can give you some of the parties we're going to. We're going to small dinners for organizations and small parties for organizations like Hip Cricket, hot organization that does customer relationship management in the mobile space for all sorts of brands that you've heard of, everyone from Estee Lauder straight through to DirecTV. They do all sorts of things. So we're going to be spending time with them. We'll be spending more time with Bing, because Bing is one of the content partnerships that we think is very, very important. So we'll be spending more time with them, and then we'll be spending some time with we're not that cool just yet, so we don't get to all the coolest parties, but I mean, we'll also try and see a movie or two while we're here. And there are lots of documentaries, actually. We saw a good one yesterday about the venture capital communities that was put on by Microsoft and Mashable, and that was actually very good. So we'll go to sort of more of those screenings. They're informative and actually very interesting and useful.
Before we sign off here, speaking of Mashable, what do you think about the rumor going around? You didn't hear that? You didn't.
This is how good you are, and this is how bad I am. See, you're in the know. I told you I'm not that popular.
Good sir. There's a rumor going around that CNN might buy them.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you have? You here in force, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And Mashable. Well, it's an interesting combination, isn't it? I do like this. That's funny. No, I hadn't heard that. Before I comment, I had not actually heard that.
We just discovered it. It's going around. We don't. No one's.
Can you just tell me, what do people say?
I think the rumor was it's a very, very large amount of money that's being exchanged, and people are worried about the content change. That if CNN purchased them, that the content might change a little bit. And so it's a pretty big deal. I mean, they are a very big person in the industry, and CNN is a huge news outlet, and for them purchasing them, it's a very big deal.
It's a big deal.
I don't know about the content situation. I mean, I've never necessarily seen a switch like that before. I mean, when someone purchases someone else and the content changes, I guess as a consumer, I just continue reading, and kind of trail off if I will, but don't necessarily trail maybe because of that merger, but just switch onto something else.
What did you think? So what did you think about when Huffington Post, so HuffingtonPost.com was purchased by AOL? Did you ever look at Huffington Post before, for instance? I mean, I was someone who knew about it and would actually view it. And then the move over to AOL didn't seem to change that voice at all, didn't seem to have that negative an impact, and actually I think made the AOL content a bit more gritty and useful. And also gave a depth to it that was no longer sort of middle of the road. It actually had sort of an editorial voice and that sort of thing. And it was going to be pushing forward issues that were of a certain sort of political ilk, and that were going to be sort of down a certain sort of a subject matter. That I noticed. And I thought that was actually not bad for AOL to have done that. In this situation where you have, CNN, which is, so well established in terms of instant and breaking news, that's going to be very visually sort of stunning, and then sort of researched in great detail, in grave detail, and then Mashable, it could be an interesting sort of, increase the cadence of the organization and sort of the, I don't think it changes the editorial voice, but I think it just changes the pace of the organization in a very significant fashion.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, with Huffington Post, on your question there, I looked at it once or twice, a couple times here and there, but never really got into it until after the merger with AOL. And since then, I check it almost every day. I love it. But again, it came later. I had checked it before and knew about it just as you did as well. And but never really got into it. And maybe it's just because it's a political year and things are happening, so I want to be a little bit more in the know. But yeah, it was kind of the reverse, where I actually jumped on board afterwards, and like you said, it definitely validated a lot of AOL's content and brought new life into it, which I think helped that. But yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with CNN. Again, it's just a rumor. We haven't gotten any kind of confirmation on it, but there's a lot of talk about it. And since, like you said, both of them are here in force. We're at South by Southwest. We don't know what's going to happen, so we'll look forward to seeing what happens.
So it would be a good time for an announcement, wouldn't it? And the big announcements that you've seen, have you seen anything from a technology side or sort of a business deal side? I haven't seen sort of the big announcement. Have you seen some big announcements?
I have not, actually. I have not. I haven't had a chance yet to jump on the floor. That's actually going to be today. I'm going to get a chance to go out and go around. But no, I haven't seen anything big.
Yeah, and usually my understanding is that there's some wow factor, and I understand that I'm sure that there's someone who's just planning something very, very big that really sort of shakes things up and makes people rethink, particularly either the digital, the mobile, or the broadcast space. I mean, it's a great time to do it. I mean, you're here at South by Southwest. There's not another event like it.
Well, actually, I take that back. I did hear something. I did. The Flintstones. They're going to do a reboot of the Flintstones.
So remember, wait a second. So the Flintstones what was the guy's name who used to be on Roseanne?
Oh my!
The one who played Dan. So he was, and
John Goodman.
John Goodman, and then
who was Fred?
Who was Fred, exactly. And then Barney Rubble, who was Rick Moranis?
Please.
Yeah, and then Rosie O'Donnell was in it, but Liz Taylor was in it also, and she's gone, so she won't be back in this one. But they're going to reboot the Flintstones, huh?
And Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy is doing the reboot.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's going to be good. Okay, so I'll be there. That's good. That's good.
That was announced.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
It was announced here at South by Southwest, and now we've announced it officially as well. So, well, Eric, I know you have to get going, and I appreciate very much you stopping by and chatting with me today. So.
Fantastic. And actually, this has been a good learning experience also, not only about Ford, but it has also been, it's been very good to actually spend some time with TechZulu. TechZulu is one of those sort of blogs that I think really does make a difference. So thanks for spending the time with us. We're happy to be here and happy to talk with you. Mobile Posse's happy to talk with you at any time.
Well, Eric, again, thank you very much, and take care and enjoy your ride back in your rental.
Yeah,
everybody, this is Kyle, and we'll talk to you.